So in the previous video we were seeing about competition. So here is a recap. Competition, we saw about Darwin. He also was convinced about interspecific competition, though he talked about survival of fittest. And but we have 2 points, important points. Unrelated species can also compete, and resources need not be limiting. There is an example in the South American lakes. Flamingos and resident fishes, they compete for food, their food is zooplankton, right? Then we have feeding efficiency of one species may be reduced due to the interfering and inhibitory presence of the other species. So generally the Darwin's fitness of one is greater than the other one, and it can eliminate, the superior species can eliminate, but we can't just but such competitive exclusion occurring nature is always not conclusive. And we have a example over here where there is an exclusion. Abingdon tortoise in Galapagos Island became extinct within a decade after goats were introduced into the island due to greater browsing efficiency of goats. Then the competitive release. What is competitive release? A species whose disturbance is restricted to a small geographical area because of the presence of a competitively superior species is found to expand its distributional range and dramatically when the competing species is experimented removed. Basically, when the species when a competitive species is removed, the other species expands. Okay, so now Cornell's elegant field experiment, what it says that in the rocky sea coasts of the Scotland, what happened is the superior barnacle balanus, it dominated the intertidal area and excluded the small barnacle Chathamalus, Balanus and Chathamalus from that zone. And herbivores and plants are also adversely affected than the carnivores. And now coming to Gauss competitive exclusion principle, we've so far learned Gauss only, Gauss and Cornell's. It's just a field experiment. Okay, now this is a law, this is a principle. So two closely related species competing for the same resource cannot coexist indefinitely, definitely, and the competitively inferior one will be eventually eliminated if the resources are limited. But recent studies, they don't support such gross generalization because but they don't rule out interspecific competition. They say that species facing competition evolved mechanism such that, and they can also coexist, and resources partitioning takes place at a different time they feed, or it's either they have different feeding times or foraging patterns. MacArthur, he showed that 5 closely related species of warblers living on the same tree, they avoided competition due to the behavior change in the foraging patterns. Now coming to our parasitism. So what we found out was in the parasitism okay, this was a recap. Now the part 3, we are seeing parasitism. Considering that the parasitic mode of life ensures free lodging and meals, it is not surprising that parasitism has evolved in so many taxonomical groups, from plants to higher vertebrates. So many parasites have evolved to be host specific. They can parasitize only single species of host in such a way that both host and the parasite tend to co-evolve. That is, if the host evolves special mechanism for rejecting or resisting the parasite, the parasite has to evolve mechanism to counteract and neutralize. Okay, co-evolve mechanism for rejecting and resisting parasite, mechanism for counteract and neutralize in order to be successful with the same host species. In accordance with their lifestyle, parasites evolved special adaptations such as the loss of unnecessary sense organs, presence of in accordance, parasites evolved special mechanisms such as the loss of unnecessary sense organs, presence of adhesive organs or suckers to cling on the host. So let me highlight them. So the life cycle also, okay, and then adhesive organs or suckers sticking on the host, loss of digestive system, and high reproductive capacity. The life cycles of parasites are often complex, involving one or two intermediate hosts or vectors to facilitate parasitization of its primary host. The human liver fluke, a termitode parasite, depends on two intermediate hosts, a snail and a fish, to complete its life cycle. We also saw about malarial parasites, the Anopheles mosquito and the human being, okay, which needs it needs vector mosquito to spread to other hosts. Majority of the parasites harm the host. They may reduce the survival and the growth and reproduction of the host and reduce its population density. Okay, so majority they might render the hosts more vulnerable to predation by making it physically weak. Do you believe that an ideal parasite shouldn't be able to thrive within the host without harming it? No. Why is parasite ideal? Okay, then why didn't natural selection? Okay, do you believe that an ideal parasite should be able to thrive within the host without harming it? Then why did natural selection lead to the evolution of such totally harmless parasites? Parasites that feed on the external surface of the host organisms are called as ectoparasites. The most familiar example of these groups are lice on humans and ticks on dogs. Many marine fishes are infested with ectoparasitic copepods. Cascata, a parasitic plant that is commonly found in the growing on hedge plants, has lost its chlorophyll and lives in the course of evolution. It derives its nutrition from the host plant, which is parasites. In contrast, endoparasites are those that live inside the host in different sites such as liver, kidney, lungs, red blood cells, etc. The life cycle of endoparasites are more complex because of their extreme specialization. Their morphological and anatomical features are greatly simplified while emphasizing the reproductive potential. Brood parasitism in birds is a fascinating example of parasitism in which the parasite bird lays its eggs in the nests of its host and lets the host incubate them. During the course of evolution, the eggs of the parasitic bird have evolved to resemble the host's egg in color and size, and to reduce the chances of the host bird detecting the foreign eggs and ejecting them from the nest. Try to follow the movement of cuckoo, quail, and the crow in your neighborhood park during the breeding session spring to summer and watch the brood parasitism in action. Okay. Okay, so we will see about commensalism in part 4. Thank you. And the recap of parasites.